All right. So here is the end product of converting the SPSS file for the homeless person's 161 data set into an Excel file, so that you should be able to do your data analysis for your statistics report 1 in Excel if you just are hitting the wall and cannot get to SPSS to do your analysis. I would still prefer and recommend that you use SPSS if you can, because frankly I think it's a little bit easier to use for this kind of thing. But I'm going to show you some things I've done to make it a little bit easier for you to do your particular projects. So here we actually have 2 worksheets in this data set that I'm going to be sending you tonight after I post this video. You've got the homeless person's 161 sheet, which has all of the variables from the homeless person's 161 data set and then all their values. You'll notice one difference is that everything is numerically coded. Excel doesn't have variable labels that I know of, and if they do exist, I don't know how to do them. So one thing that you are going to have to do that you would not necessarily have had to do with SPSS is you're going to have to keep referring back to the code book while you're doing your analysis. It's not a big deal, but it's something that you need to just be mindful of. So that's the first tab, and if you click this other tab, it'll bring up this worksheet that actually has some analyses already done. And these are for just 2 variables I kind of picked out of a hat, so that you'll be able to just substitute your variables you're using in your report in for them. So here's a dependent variable that I've chosen, which is spirituality scale. It's an interval ratio variable. And then I've got the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, n or sample size, standard error, minimum and maximum values listed here. You can calculate the confidence intervals by just taking these values and then doing it the normal way that we've done in class for your homework. But for all of these others, I've set them up so that you should just be able to plug in the values from your variable and have them show up. So next to the mean label, I've got the mean, and it's set up to use the equation equals average and then this data range in parentheses. And that data range is going to be the part that you're going to have to edit for your analysis. So what you'll want to do is click inside the parentheses and then select this everything that says homeless persons 161 AT2 through AT162, and you're going to delete it. Okay? Then, with the cursor still inside the parentheses, click on the homeless persons 161 tab and find your variable. Mine is spirit 45, and I'm going to click the first value, then scroll down to the bottom of the worksheet, hold down the shift button, and click the last row, which should be 162. Once I've done that, I'm going to hit enter, and it should give me the mean. It's the same for what I've done here because I haven't changed variables, but it should be different when you plug in your values. You'll do the same thing for median. In fact, you can just go up here to the mean once you've plugged in your values, select that range that you put in, right click it, click copy, hit enter. I want to emphasize that because if you don't, it's going to mess up your analysis. And then go to median, select the range inside parentheses, right click and copy, and then hit enter. And you should be able to do the same thing for mode and for standard deviation and for min and for max. N, you'll also have to do that for, and what it's going to do is it's going to count the number of cases that are non-missing for your variable, and that'll be the n you're using to calculate standard error from standard deviation. I've set it up so that it should automatically calculate once you plugged in the mean, standard deviation, and n. Okay, so that you shouldn't have to mess with this particular row at all. So once you've done that, the only other part that you'll really need to do in Excel for your dependent variable is create a histogram or polygon graph, and you'll want to refer back to the video I posted near the beginning of the semester and the email I sent about that, and use that to do your graph. So that should cover the dependent variable. Independent variable is a little bit different. So first of all, I've picked the can get healthcare if I need it variable, which is medget25, can get healthcare if I really need it. It's an ordinal variable, and then it's got the codes for strongly disagree, disagree, agree, and strongly agree, 0, 1, 2, 3. So what you're going to want to do is, for your independent variable, underneath values, you'll want to put in each of your categories, and when you get to total, I want you to insert, so right click and insert an entire row before total. Don't put anything on top of total, or override it or anything like that. Just because I've got it set up to where this is going to add up all of your categories that you've set, and it could mess it up. So I'm actually going to delete that row here. So the other thing you want to do is, for each of your categories of your ordinal or nominal variable, I want you to put the code that corresponds to it from the code book. That's just going to make the next step a little bit easier. So I've got strongly disagree equals 0, disagree equals 1, agree equals 2, and strongly agree equals 3. And then I've got the frequency listed here. The way I did that was in the column next to each category, I put an equal count if, and then this whole deal. And what that's going to do is it sets up to count the number of cases in a given range that have a specific value, in this case 0, which equals strongly disagree. So for your variable, what you're going to have to do is, for each category, select this range before the comma and after the parentheses, hit delete, go to the Homeless Persons 161 worksheet, scroll to the variable you're using, and just like we did with your dependent variable, you're going to select the first row. That's going to be way up here. Scroll all the way down and select the last row by hitting Shift and then clicking on it to select the entire column. Then, before you hit enter, put the code for the category you're using after the comma with a space in between. So 0 is strongly disagree, so that's what I put. So now we've got count if this range, cases that take on the value 0. When you hit enter, it should give you the frequency of this category. And so you'll do that for each one of your categories, and then when you get down to total, you're gonna, if you need to, you're gonna say equal sum, and then select this parenthesis, this range in the parentheses, hit delete, and select the entire set of range of categories you have frequencies for, and then it should add them up for you. Then to calculate percent, it should do it automatically, but it might not if you need to add categories. If that's the case, you just need to put equals and then put the frequency for the category divided by the total, and make sure you actually type in the number for the total there instead of just clicking on it. So here I've got equals B14, which is 2, divided by 161, which gives me a percent. And then you're just going to go and do that for each one of your categories. Make sure that for each of your percent cells, it's set up to be a percentage. And the way you do that is by right-clicking on the cell and then clicking Format, and then under Number, clicking Percentage, and then OK. Okay. So do that, and then for cumulative percent, the first row just needs to equal the percent to the left of it because it's your first category. Then on the next row, you're going to hit equals this cell, which is D14, plus the cell to the left of this one. So it's going to add this percentage to the percentage for the next category to keep a running tab of cumulative percent. After you've done that, you should just be able to hover over the bottom right corner till the cursor turns to this little black cross, and then drag it down to the last category that you're using, and it should automatically fill those in for you, and you should have 100% by your last category. Once you've done that, you should be able to create a bar graph or a pie chart for your independent variable using this table. We went over that earlier in the semester and you did a homework with it, so I think you should be able to handle that part on your own. And that's really it for how to do this stuff in Excel. If you run into a wall trying to do this in Excel, first check back with the video and make sure that there's nowhere where you've kind of gone off. And if you are still running into a brick wall, you can shoot me an email. I'll be around tomorrow afternoon and evening to answer your emails and troubleshoot issues you might be having. So that's really it. I hope this helps, and good luck.